Greetings everyone, Slizzle466 here, and in today's video we're going to look at some of the best decks to climb the wild ladder with for October 2020. These are not listed in any particular order of power, they're just listed by class, and they are specifically builds that I think are the best of specific archetypes. Starting off with Demon Hunter, we have awDemon Hunter by Major Tom. It's not the best deck ever, but if you want to get some Demon Hunter games in, maybe you haven't got your 500 wins yet or your 1000 wins, this would be a good way to go. Some cute techs in here are the classic Dr. Boom, which is a nice little late game surprise. The Soul Shard Lapidary is really good for some surprise burst. Of course, you need your awDuLYDpNED to have a chance against all the spell-based decks in the meta, but overall, just a very solid awDemon Hunter list to climb with. Looking at Druid, we begin with Aggro Druid, arguably one of the fastest decks in the game. A lot of the times you can win by turn 3 or 4. And essentially all you do is you hope to get embiggens, pull very big patches from your decks after playing the embiggens, and then just playing all your small costs minions, buffing them with Mark of the Lotus, Power of the Wild, finishing off with Savage Roar. And since you do dump your hand pretty quickly with this deck, you've got Voracious Reader to help you refill. If you'd rather play a little bit of a slower Druid deck, you could try Malygos Druid. Malygos Druid, how this specific build works is you want to do a lot of ramp, do a lot of draw, get a lot of your late game cards with the juicy Psychomelon, and then you want to play the combo of Aviana, followed by Kuhn, followed by a Malygos, a Sathravar, and then a bunch of spells, or perhaps Geppetto to get some more value from your deck. You might combo with Kael'thas. It's a tricky deck to play, but it can do a lot of damage with just 1 or 2 spells from the deck. Looking at Mage, if you like Mage, you're in a pretty good place in Wild. We're starting off with Get Meowth's Reno Luna's Pocket Galaxy Mage. So this is a very value-oriented anti-aggro style of Mage, so that's why you're seeing the Doomsayer, the Explosive Sheep, the Volcanic Potion to have a chance against aggro. Moving into the mid-game, you've got awDuLYDpNED to stall, you've got Jandis just for solid value, again Ziliax just to have a bit of a chance against aggro. And then on the top end, you'll notice that it's not too greedy, so even though there's a Luna's Pocket Galaxy in the list, it's not about putting massive minions down that only cost 1. It's all about getting these really amazing combos. For example, you might very easily, after you play your Luna's Pocket Galaxy, maybe you want to play a Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, bounce it back to your hand, or you might be able to even bounce a whole bunch of minions back in your hand using the Barista. You can also cycle through your deck really fast with Stargazer Luna since your minions cost 1 if you draw 1, and so it just gives the deck a way to do absolutely absurd things that you normally wouldn't be able to do. You'll also notice that there is a Potion of Illusion and a Tortollan Pilgrim in here as a soft little turtle combo. And the nice thing is that with the nerf to Tortollan Pilgrim, when you discover, say, your Luna's Pocket Galaxy, you actually pull it out of the deck altogether, which is in some ways a buff. Reno Quest Mage is your other Reno option for Mage. So this plays very similarly to regular Quest Mage. It's just a little bit slower, and since it's a little bit slower, you've got some stall to help you get to the end game. So that's why you see cards like Volcanic Potion in the list. And in this case, because it's a Reno deck, you can only run 2 giants, so quite often you need Archmage Vargoth to give you 3 turns for OTK instead of the usual 2 turns that Quest Mage needs. Speaking of Quest Mage, pretty solid list by Ramses here. It's running the 1 Thieves as well as the 1 Makers. This also makes the Book of Spectres a lot more valuable because it lowers the chance of you discarding spells. It's a very fast deck, If everything lines up properly for you, quite often you can finish the quest on turn 4 and 5, win by turn 6. The last mage deck to look at is Secret Mage. Again, this is just the Secret Mage we're used to seeing. However, this list has a Lorekeeper Polkelt in it, which I think is kind of interesting. The rationale here is to get the Alaneth on 6 guaranteed. So if you want to try a slightly new version of Secret Mage, this would be the way to go. Moving over to Paladin, we have awDuLYDpNED by Ghost Dog. Very powerful, very fast deck. It's got the animated broomstick, which is becoming quite the powerful card in flood decks to help control board. You've got Crystology for a bit of draw. You've got just a single Never Surrender. And then you've got your mid-game, your Faceless Corruptors for board control, your Loatheb to buy you a turn. Just, again, very fast deck. As long as you keep your board through the first couple turns of the game's going to end pretty quickly in your favor. Another aggressive Paladin deck you might want to try out is Murloc Paladin. I prefer this build as opposed to the OTK one, so I prefer to just run the 2 lenses, run the 2 tip the scales, get all the Murlocs out as quick as possible. If you lose your board, you lose the game, that's fine. But otherwise, you just cheat out wins very quickly. Also, the High Abyss Allure is really nice. If you're on the coin, that can help you get those out really fast. Otherwise, you could play one of your secrets off Hydrologist to activate Allure's Spellburst ability. Looking at Priest, we have Reno Priest. Reno Priest, I mean, there's no argument, it's the best deck in the meta. There are also lots of variants out there, but I specifically like this build by NHL New Jersey Fan. This is a list that I took to Legend on 3 servers with a 75 to 80% win rate on each server, and it's very, very fast. It cycles very quickly. Quite often, you can win out games by turn 9 and 10. Again, otherwise, if you don't get your Polkelt on time, your Raza, that's okay. You just kind of wait it out, draw through your deck. You'll get there eventually, and you get very easy lethals with Spawn of Shadows, as well as Pen Flinger. Keep in mind with the Pen Flinger, when you have your Shadow Reaper Anduin ability and your Spawn of Shadows on board, that Pen Flinger is essentially 7 damage for 1 mana, which is absolutely insane. Looking over at Rogue, we have Kingsbane Rogue. I couldn't find a more recent list, so this is the list that most people are seeing on the ladder. There's a single sap in there to tech against Big Shaman, but otherwise it's just really aggressive. Strangely enough, I don't see Kingsbane a lot when I play on the Americas server, but I see it a ton on Asia. I see it quite a fair bit on Europe. So if Kingsbane Rogue is your sort of thing, then you'll want to give this specific build a try. Another aggressive rogue deck you might want to try out is Odd Rogue by Lasagna. This is a nice little list. It's kind of got a bit of a Kingsbane flavor in it, so you can see that there's a Deadly Poison, there's the Vulpera Toxin Blade, there's the Cutting Class to draw, there's even a Dr. Krastenov in here. So this is a list that's built to have a board, but also have a very big weapon to push a lot of damage. Moving over to Shaman, we have Big Shaman by Blue Train. This is just a very solid list. You can cheat out minions very early. One of the dream combos is you play Lightning Bloom into Ancestor's Call, pull one of your late game minions, and quite often you just instantly win the game on the spot. Another Shaman list to look at is another list by Lasagna. This is Lasagna's take on Even Shaman. This is pretty similar to most of the lists we're seeing on the ladder these days. They're totem builds. They run the Diligent Node Taker for value. They run the Mana Feeder Panthera for cycle. And If you can't quite get the totem synergies going, you've got Stormbringer to high roll a crazy board. Moving over to Warlock, we have Cube Warlock. Again, because Cube Lock is all about making an obnoxious board, but also being able to kill your board, whether it's popping a Void Caller or popping a Carnivorous Cube, you'll see the animated broomsticks teched in here to help you do that. You'll also notice that this list is running double Doomguard. So if you're not queuing into too much aggro, you might not want to have the Doomguards in there, because sometimes they can cause you problems if they're stuck in your hand and you've got to play them to discard random cards, since there's a lot of cards you don't want to discard when you play Cube Lock. The Archwitch Willow is also absolutely insane, letting you get a demon from your hand and deck. Sometimes this can just win the game on the spot because your opponent can't deal with the double demons coming out. If you like something a little bit more aggressive, you could try Discard Warlock. This is also arguably one of the best decks in the meta right now. You'll notice that there are Dark Glares in here. This is not a Dark Glare deck, but it's still a very valuable minion. It's got solid stats, 2 mana, 2/3, and the fact that you could Life Tap or Librarian or Flame Imp just to get some extra value is very, very powerful. But that's not the win condition of the deck. The win condition is make ridiculous boards, whack them in the face really quickly, draw a lot by discarding Hands of Gul'dan's, and usually Soulfire and Doomguard will finish off the job. To finish up, we look at Warrior. We have a Dead Man's Hand Warrior here. So I don't play too much Dead Man's Hand Warrior myself, but some cards that I do like in here is I do like the Forge of Souls to try and get into your Bulwark or your Ankar. I like the Zeph here, considering that you can cycle through your deck pretty quickly. And with Dead Man's Hand, you can also very carefully make sure that you don't put duplicates back in your deck. You can also mill with Cold Light, which is nice, especially against Reno Priests or against Malygos Druids or any sort of other combo Druids. So this is just a nice deck. It's got a bit of a learning curve, but in the right hands, you can really punish your opponents with this list. And the last deck to look at is Galakrond Warrior. So this is basically your Pirate Warrior. I don't have Pirate Warrior in this video because it hasn't changed that much, and it's not as good as some of the other fast decks in the meta. But this specific list, it's running the early game Pirate package, it's running the ship's cannons, but instead of finishing off with Leroy, it has a mid-game shift into Devoted Maniac, Scion of Ruin. It's got the Law Keeper Poor Celt to help get to your Galakrond, and then you've got your late game, your Kronks, and your Galakrond. If you'd like to give any of these decks a try, you'll find the deck codes in the video description below. And if you're a mobile user and you have trouble copying the deck codes, there's also a link that you can copy to my Discord. If you visit the Deck Lists Only channel, you'll find all the deck codes in this video. If you want to support this channel, you can click the subscribe button. You could click the notification bell. Thank you for watching, and until next time, hope to see you again.